Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your company, and what you do there?
My name is Jessie Keck. I am a engineering manager at a company called Ontra.
Mhm.
We're a legal technology company. I'm specifically focused on our contract automation business.
Mhm.
So we are trying to offload routine legal work off of large typically private equity
Mhm.
firms, and bring that into our platform and have our network of attorneys and are the technology that we have to help enable the attorneys to do their job more efficiently and more accurately via things like AI, machine learning.
Oh, cool, cool. So, how are you finding RailsConf so far?
Really enjoying it. This is my first time coming to Rails conference. I've been working with Rails for a long time, and really wanted to come to this conference for a while. This is the first opportunity that presented itself, so very, very happy and been enjoying it very much so far.
Cool, cool. So, what were the factors that led to your team choosing Rails?
The company that I've been working on chose Rails before I joined on, but I think I do have some context of why that decision was made. The folks from Ontra and prior to our rebrand at In Cloud Council have been involved in the Rails community through the engineers who founded the company before they had been you know um, with this company at prior jobs. They had been in the Rails community and had really found a lot of success iterating rapidly, building quickly in other companies. And so a couple of them, I think, had actually met at some Ruby and Rails events in the San Francisco Bay Area where we're located. And they connected in some of those events, and when they decided to start the company, looked to some folks that they had met in the open source community, and they knew that had alignment with a lot of their values and a lot of the ways that they thought about development and software development in general. And we're able to find a lot of like-minded people that were able to bootstrap and build the company quickly.
Oh, cool. And if you were to make the choice again today, would you still choose Rails?
Yes, and in fact, we just started a new product very recently and spun it up on Rails, got latest Rails 7, and have sort of with our company have made a commitment that any new product that we're going to stand up, we sort of have a standard profile, a technology stack that we want them to use and follow, and that's foundational backend pieces. Any latest version of Rails for any new project starting.
Oh, cool. That's really cool. So, how are there other technologies as a part of your stack?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, we have a Postgres database, and our front end is Ember.js. That new product that I just mentioned that we just spun up on Rails, we did not make the decision to stick with Ember.js for that new product, and kind of what our new stack is moving forward is more of a Rails backend Postgres database when it makes sense for a database-backed application, and looking more towards React as far as our front-end application technology.
You also mentioned that your company does AI, ML, and all that. So I suppose this like Python and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So all of our machine learning, our entire machine learning team is all in the Python stack. Nicely through how we've separated those kind of concerns. Luckily, we can communicate through them through APIs, and that's one of the great things that Rails is really excels at is being able to interact with other services via APIs and pull ingest things into the database when it makes sense. So it's actually a really nice fit for their technology stack being in Python, what makes sense for their use case, and then we're still able to build in Rails, interact over an API that contract that we decide on, and both of our stacks can continue and develop independently from one another.
Cool. So when hiring engineers for your team, do you look for like people who have experience with Ruby on Rails, or do you look for generalists who can then pick up Rails and things like that?
Yeah, so we definitely are look for generalists. I mean, we come to the communities like this for hiring because we know that folks who are familiar with Ruby on Rails will step really nicely into our tech stack and typically ramp up very quickly because it's other than internal business rules, following Rails patterns lets people who aren't actually familiar with our specific application come in and be successful and be productive right away.
Right.
So yeah. Sorry, what was the?
No, in a sense, what are the paths that like an engineer would take to get comfortable with Rails? Like how if someone is like just doing like Python and Django and they
Sure.
come in Django, like
Yeah.
how?
Sorry, but yeah. So yeah, in that perspective, we yeah definitely have found that folks that MVC framework familiarity or other full stack familiarity oftentimes can come in and work and be very successful in our stack. So while we definitely prefer the Rails stack, we've hired successful engineers from all kinds of backgrounds, non-Rails backgrounds, that have come in and ramped up really successfully in our app.
So, what does your platform team look like? I mean, do you have Kubernetes? Do you have how do you get the logs, performance metrics?
Yeah. So our production application currently is in Heroku, although that is something we're also have been looking at changing away from. So a lot of our non-production stack is all in AWS on Kubernetes clusters and all of that. So I think that's where we're generally trending towards with our production stack as well. And then, yeah, we're using things like Datadog to collect all of our analytics from there, have a whole suite of dashboards and statistics that we're collecting from there for all of our performance metrics and things like that.
Cool. Yeah. So, what are some of the current challenges that you face with like Rails code bases? Would you want Rails? Would you want some things that Rails could do better, or like where should the Rails community go?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. One of the things that our company's been around for 7 years on Rails since I believe effectively day one. And one of the things when you have a monolith that's been around that long is that the code organization becomes a challenge. And so, actually, but one of the things that we've implemented in our application is Packwerk, to start modularizing our application into packs, defining boundaries, interfaces, and I think just the fact that that is a possibility in Rails, it's not something you have to do, but it's something you can opt into.
Right.
I think has been really helpful. And so I should say that's a challenge that we had been having up until recently. I think Packwerk really nicely solved that for us. I'd say one of the other maybe one of the other challenges that we have is, and maybe this is a good thing with Rails, maybe this is a bad thing with Rails. I'll leave that on the table for anybody to decide. But it's like the opinionated nature around services.
Right.
I think it's it's something that we're frequently looking towards more of. The way that Rails can give you a lot of a leg up in certain aspects of that we have active job and we have a lot of these other frameworks that we can use, but service classes still seem to be kind of like a wild west. You go to every company, they're done maybe slightly differently. There's some similarities, and I think we're running up against that now too, where we have a host of service classes. They're split up into their packs, but there's not a uniform API over them. The way they get called is different. There's some gems out there that do aim to solve this, and we're exploring them. But if Rails had something internally, that would obviously be a first class choice to choose that over trying to pick a suite of from a suite of gems to do the same thing.
Makes sense. Cool. Would you like to give a shout out to some cool open source project or some people that you admire in the community?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that from the aspects of libraries that we use, we are actually a sponsor. We have previously sponsored Can. That's a library that I've used here. I've used in probably almost every project in the past number of years. So anyways, I think we've really enjoyed that library. I guess for myself, a couple of people that I've been wanting to see here, Ruby heroes of mine of some sort has been Nate Berkopec. I know he's been around. I think I saw him in the hallway. And Justin Sarles, two people who I've definitely learned a ton from. I feel like every time I'm out there, searching for something, a post from one of them comes up, or they've definitely pulled me out of a lot of holes in my programming in Rails career. So definitely a big shout out to them. Yeah, I don't know. In open source projects, I guess I'll just mention a project that I was working with in a prior life is called Blacklight. It's a Ruby on Rails gem that allows you to build search engines on top of Lucene Solar. Anyways, great community, a great community of engineers, great people. There's even a couple people at RailsConf you might see with the Blacklight shirt on. Cool. They're great denizens of the open source community. And yeah, anyways, this great group of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, thank you.